Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Some Extent. Happy Tuesday. Today, we're doing another remote interview just because Avery is out of town again. But I think we will be back in person next week. So we'll be back to our normal format after this. These remote interviews have been going pretty well, though. So hopefully, we can kind of continue setting these up and getting some more interesting guests on. But today, our guest is Avery, and we're here to talk about Reiki. And so I think we'll get into that a little bit later. Avery, just tell me about what you've been up to this last week since we did our last episode, and how's everything been going?
Yeah, I've been away from home for, I guess, 2 weeks now. I'm still in Chicago, but we're leaving for Montreal, Canada tomorrow morning at like 4 a.m. And then I'm going to Vermont for my cousin's wedding, which I'm excited about. So, yes, still traveling, but I'm glad that we get to keep this podcast going and on regular schedule. So I hope it's all still working out for everyone listening. Um, how about you? How's your travels been? I know you're back in Denver now.
Oh yeah, it was good. Had a little bit of Memorial Day travel, but pretty good back in Denver now, and just kind of chilling out, doing got no plans, which is good sometimes. Looking forward to the Nuggets playing in the NBA Finals, so that's something I'm excited about. But that'll be cool to be in Denver for that series
Mhm.
and just kind of seeing how the city lights up. If hopefully they do well, and I'm expecting some good things, so it'll be fun to watch everybody get excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Sad I'm missing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm got some travel plans coming up in a couple weeks, but hopefully that finals parade, if they can win it all, will stay. I'll still be in town. That's what I'm hoping for.
Fingers crossed. Go
Yeah,
Nuggets.
let's see. um, all right, yeah. So I think there's a lot to dive in here with Reiki. So this is something that I had never heard of before, completely unfamiliar with until maybe a couple months ago when Avery and her cousin kind of brought it to my attention. And it's something I'm still learning a lot about because it's not something I would normally dive into on my own. But it is really cool to kind of learn about topics that I would never have been interested in or ever come across if I hadn't met you guys. So that is something that I'm super happy about, but also really curious about. So hopefully we'll be able to dive into it in this interview and hopefully get some people that are also curious about it, or maybe don't even know what it is, to
Mhm.
look into it, explore something that they've never heard of.
Reiki healing is not a super popular thing. It is an alternative medicine. And I do want to start to say this is all coming from my personal experience with my session. I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor, so none of this is backed by, like, professional research, I guess, to say. It's literally all my personal experience and how I felt both mentally, physically, spiritually. So I wanna start by saying that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, and I think it's gonna like everyone is gonna have a different experience with this, no matter who tries it. I
Right.
personally have never tried this, and we're talking to Avery because she has tried this,
Mhm.
but I don't know if it's on my radar right now, but maybe in the future. We'll see. But it is cool to learn about. But I do think, yeah, the results of Reiki are subjective. You kind of get out what you put in, and you get out like how you feel afterwards, things like that. So it works differently for everybody. But let's go in and maybe just give a like Webster's dictionary definition, or like give me a couple sentences summary of how would you describe Reiki as a whole?
So Reiki is a Japanese form of energy healing. It's, again, an alternative medicine. So I guess you can compare it in a way to meditating or therapy. So when Lex was saying it's subjective, some of these things work for people and it doesn't work for others. So it's very much your personal experience, I would say.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And then I kind of looked up, did a little research, and the clevelandclinic.org did say, like, as a definition, that Reiki is an energy healing technique that promotes relaxation, reduces stress and anxiety through gentle touch. Reiki
Mhm,
practitioners use their hands to deliver energy to your body, improving the flow and balance of your energy to support healing.
mhm. Yeah.
All right, so pretty good definition there. All right, so I want to hear about how you initially got interested in Reiki because when I first met you, I don't think you had knew what this was. So I want to
No.
know why, and like how did you get interested in this?
Yes, so Reiki is still something that's super new to me. I had my first Reiki healing session about a month ago now, and I feel like people get into alternative medicine when they kinda hit a low place, I would say are desperate for some sort of healing, and I found myself there where I really had my mental health down, but the physical trauma in my body, I felt really stagnant in that part of my life, and I became desperate for healing and some sort of change. I was feeling the same every single day, and I basically was talking to my cousin who also recently moved to Denver. We haven't seen each other in years, so we were just kinda catching up, and she recommended me to go see her Reiki healer, who she actually teaches classes. My cousin goes to her and is learning how to be a Reiki healer. So I really trusted it because my cousin has been to this woman and is also learning from her. So that was kind of the I guess I was skeptical at first, but hearing that and getting a recommendation really helped me to finally just go and do it.
Okay, so I want to know like how many times have you done Reiki, and then why? What were your reasons? Kind of. I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but yeah, just kind of like dive into like how many times have you been? What are the sessions?
I guess to, like, take a step back, I've done tarot cards and psychic readings before, and I've found a lot of value in those. Again, to each their own. I know this sounds, like, very woo-woo, but I never got anything bad from those experiences, and, it's all things they tell me that are positive and things that can help me in the future, so that's why I like it. So it kinda reminded me of that. I've never had a bad experience, so I was like, "Why not try another alternative medication in a way?" And the reason I did it was to find healing. That's my ultimate goal. I'm sure that's everyone's goal as you go through life. You're always just trying to heal, get better, grow. So that's really what I wanted to do is open my mind up and, you know, that's really what I was looking for is healing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you connected both like the tarot card readings to, moving into a different form of like alternative healing, which is Reiki. And I think that that is super interesting. And that's how like maybe a lot of people could initially get into Reiki is if they do think the tarot cards help a lot and they're looking for something more or a different avenue, like that is a great way to kind of, transition into Reiki. So that's interesting that that's how that you connected to.
To each their own. Once again, forms of therapy can help other people. I know, like, my mom loves acupuncture and massages. All these things are just different forms of something therapeutic and something beneficial for your body and soul. So I'm just super open to trying new things and seeing what works best for me. So again, it was more like a learning experience for me as well, just seeing, did this experience really help me or benefit me and open my eyes to something new? And that's also something I'm looking for on top of the healing.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So it was basically a trial run for you.
Mhm. Yes, because 'cause I've only done 1, and the one time I did it was crazy experience.
Yeah, so I want to dive into that too. Can you kind of explain like how does Reiki work? Maybe walk me through your initial like the initial parts of like you going in to meet this woman and like kind of how does that get set up? How does she begin? What kind of steps are there taken there?
Right. So my cousins told me about this woman, speaks very highly about her and all the sessions she's had. Again, I told her kind of what was going on with me, and she recommended me to go just because she was like, one session, and you're going to feel so good, so relieved. I was struggling with a lot of physical trauma. So that's kind of like what my focus was and my goal. And I was nervous to go. I was nervous to even sign up for sessions, so I kinda had it in the back of my mind for several months and just kinda put it off. Um, and I finally it was, like, one weekend, I know you were out of town, my roommate was out of town, a lot of my friends were out of town, so it was just me, so I decided to sign up. She gave me her number, so I just texted her, "Hey, I'm da da da's cousin, would love to set up a session with you for an hour." And it happened, like, right away. She got me in the next day. I went into her office, and it looked like a doctor's office, so super normal, or, like, a doctor office and a massage, I would say, because when I walked into the room she was gonna have me in, it was a massage table, so super comforting, super clean, super, you know, calming, I would say, and smelled great, massage table, very relaxing. That's kind of the imagery you could expect to see.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And then she kind of calls you in just like a normal massage or something like that and you're ready to go. So what kind of happens after that? What happens during the session? Um and I want to know like if you could describe like what it kind of felt like being in there.
Mhm.
Um just for people who may not know what to expect, I guess.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, you walk in and you lay down and you don't talk to her much. At least I didn't, so she didn't know anything about me. So I laid down in the massage chair and she honestly didn't touch me much. I know people get weird about that. It was more just her flowing energy from my body and removing the negative energy and almost clearing out all my chakras. So, those of you that are unfamiliar with chakras or very new to it, they kind of align throughout your body, starting from the crown of your head to your feet. So she would go through each chakra and really dive in there, depending on how blocked each one was. Take as much time as she needed just to clear it out, keep that energy flowing through and removing any blockages that were there. And for me, a lot of people say, like, you can't feel anything, but I felt a little tingling sensation, very, very, very slight. Nothing hurt, no pain, ever so slight tingling sensation, if that's probably the best way I can explain it.
Okay, so you are kind of describing you could feel a sensation through her hands a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it was more in my
Okay, so
body. Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so that's definitely the energy portion of it. That makes
right.
a lot of sense. And then what kind of continued after that? Like describe what kind of kept going on? Was she like talking to you to like walking you through what she was gonna do, or was it kind of just random?
So at the beginning, she was pretty quiet. I don't know if she knew this was my first session or not, but I kind of wanted her to walk me through what was going on. Where did she see blockages, just so I'm aware of that for the future, knowing my heart chakra was blocked up. Why? I can go back and figure out why it was always blocked so I can prevent that in the future. So I wanted to really learn from this session. So once I told her, like, would you be okay with walking me through what you're doing? this is my first session. I'm super curious. She, of course, was like, yeah, of course. So she basically would take, again, the bad energy out of me and release it. And this sounds crazy, but she would suck it out and basically burp to release the negative energy. Because I think she takes it from me, and then it's obviously in her, so she needs to release it somehow. And for those of you that don't know me, I hate burps. Lex knows, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I, like, yell at people when they burp in my face, so she didn't warn me at first, so I, like, opened my eyes immediately and was like, "Oh my god, did she just eat lunch or, like, what happened?" And I was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I should have warned you. Burping is the way I release. It's just easier, more efficient way to release the negative energy, so it's not in either you or I." So, that was a big, crazy thing within itself. Um, but from there, again, I was super skeptical, especially with the burping, and once I kind of felt more relaxed and really just let myself go and be calm and be in the moment, that's when I felt a tingling sensation and her really moving my energy around and clearing paths and clearing my chakras. And I have to say, another thing that made me way less skeptical was she, once again, didn't tell this woman anything about my life. She pulled a few things from my body, my spiritual body or my soul, and it was a hook, a bullet, and an arrow. And when she told me she was pulling these things, I kind of felt a sensation of, like, relief, if that makes sense. And it wasn't a painful, like, okay, she's pulling an arrow out of my body. It was more just, I used to have, like, tightness from anxiety, and that was getting released and basically went away, which was super cool. And then each of those items that she pulled represented trauma. And I'm obviously not gonna get into it because it's pretty deep, but every single thing she said was, like, spot on correct. And, you wouldn't know those things happened to me just by looking at me. So that's when I really was like, okay, she knows what she's doing. She's very talented, very gifted woman. This is a really crazy experience. And a lot of it is really deep. I'm just putting out a warning there. It is deep things. It's, again, healing. And it was a lot. It was a lot.
It sounds like it was, you kind of going through self exploration while she was kind of, like learning things about you, which is
Right.
really interesting. Because she was obviously learning these things through like your energy and picking up on your energy.
Exactly.
Um,
And what was helpful is, you're right, it was exploring, healing within myself, but she was guiding it. So, for
mhm.
those of you that, are looking for healing, but you just don't know where to start, that's what I needed, was a little push too.
If you guys love gold jewelry as much as I do, you have to check out Slide Jewels. Slide Jewels is a jewelry brand that crafts contemporary and affordable pieces from high-quality stainless steel. From earrings, necklaces, rings, and bracelets, Slide has pieces for everyone. Use code to some extent to get 30% off your purchase. Links and promo code will be in the show notes, so check it out.
I don't want this to kind of turn people off, but I want you to describe the feeling after your session. Maybe start like directly after, maybe a couple hours after, and then 48 hours to 72 hours after.
Yeah. So, again, I went into this knowing nothing. I expected, it to be kind of like a massage where you go in, you have the session, and you feel good after. I was wrong. Um, After the session, she did recommend me to go home and rest. And she was like, go to sleep and let yourself sleep. So I went on a Friday. So it was nice because The next day was Saturday, and I had the whole weekend to just rest. And one of the words she told me was just surrender. If you learn anything from this experience, surrender yourself to everything you feel. And it's going to be tough and it's not going to be fun, but do it. You're going to thank me. So I somewhat listened. I felt really good after. Like immediately after, felt so good, so light, so happy and energetic almost. Kind of like I just woke up from a nap and I'm like, I'm ready to go out. So of course I text my friends and we go out for a couple drinks, which wasn't the best idea, but I was in a good mood, so I wanted to. Um, we went out and then I went back home, slept, and I slept in. The next morning didn't feel any different, so I'm gonna do errands. So I'm running errands, and I swear to God, 24 hours hit. Immediately just felt faint and no energy, thought I was gonna pass out, turned really white in the face, and I kept having to sit down in Target, like, literally sit down in the store, in public, and I was like, "I ate today, I felt fine. What the hell is going on?" I looked at the time, and it happened to be 4 p.m., and I was like, "It's hitting me now." So, I'm like, "Shoot, I need to go home." She was right. I'm not gonna feel awesome. So, I go home, and this may be TMI, but she did warn me that there was gonna be a lot of purging, and purging looks different to everyone, whether that's going to the bathroom, throwing up, whatever it may be. For me, I got home and I immediately ran to the bathroom to get sick, which I wasn't prepared for, but I mean, I guess she warned me, but I didn't really expect it to be much. So then my whole happy, feeling good ended pretty fast within 24 hours. That was the craziest part was 24 hours hit and I felt like shit. So I just took a bath for like 2 hours, sat in some Epsom salt, and surrendered myself, basically.
That's interesting because it's clear that your body and like the energy within you was kind of changing around, and it's cool to see that like what she did and what she was expecting kind of did happen to you, uh, and so I think that does show like it had a certain impact on you for sure, and I'm sure you can attest to that,
Right.
which is really cool because you know I don't know why, but I feel like the fact that you went through that kind of like stage of really like energetic happiness and then also went through a stage of like feeling like very sick and like not uh great, uh kind of shows me, at least somebody who has never tried it, that there is like some benefit, or there is some energy working there.
Yeah, and so that was only 24 hours. Then 2 days after, so 48 hours now, I woke up and I was just crying like the whole day. And again, I am a really emotional person. So when she said just surrender to every feeling, every emotion, whatever, just do it, I did. And I just was crying. I decided to watch sad movies all day. And it was funny because I was on TikTok and 1 second it'd be like, funny, haha, I'm laughing. And then all of a sudden it's like, an army person coming home and seeing their kid for the first time, and I'm just sobbing. And then the next TikTok, it's like something happy again. I literally was going through every single emotion. Um, and I haven't been that emotional in one day in a long time. So that was again crazy. But for me, it was only like those 2 days that were pretty bad. So the first day I was purging, second day I was just very emotional. And from there, I've never felt so good and so relaxed and so again, just light. I physically felt light, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I think when you are it to me, it sounds like you kind of released a few things that were weighing it down a little bit,
Right.
um, whether they were physical or just energy, and it does sound like it had a positive impact on you after you got through those negative effects. And I think, uh, it's one of those situations where it's like it's gonna get worse before it gets better, but you have to get through the worst part
Exactly.
before it gets better, is what it sounds like to me.
Yep.
I was curious to see how long the session lasted.
1 hour. So she offered 2 sessions. One was 1 hour and the other was an hour and a half. But I chose
Okay,
the one
okay.
to start because I, again, didn't know what to expect, so I didn't wanna be stuck in a room where I felt really uncomfortable or whatever for an hour and a half if I didn't love it, but if I were to go back, I would definitely do a longer session now.
Okay, and then, how have you been feeling, like a month or 2 out now? Like, have you noticed any significant changes? Have you noticed anything to do with the energy that you feel? Or, I guess, what have you noticed then now that you're pretty far removed from your first session?
Yeah. So I've noticed a lot. I was journaling through it all as well because I really wanted to capture every moment and every feeling I had, which I think was a good idea because, the first day I felt like shit. The second day I was moody. Third day I felt better and I kept getting better and better and better. And it was really cool to honestly just focus on myself and kind of protect myself in a way. And she kind of talked to me saying, protect this part of Avery that's new, act like she's a baby. This is baby Avery, protect her at all costs, love her, give her anything she needs. If you have an urge to go get ice cream, do it. If you have an urge to wear something pink, because that's my favorite color growing up, do it. Do these things for her that usually you would say no to yourself. And I think that was huge for me. I know it sounds so little, but for like self-care and self-love, which I really personally need to work on. And I really remembered that and still stick to it where, if I'm in a situation and I just feel uncomfortable, I'll leave. Or if I have an urge to do something, I'll listen to myself. It's kind of like little lessons within that big thing she did for me that I'm learning. Take care of yourself, love yourself, check up on yourself. It's self-love, it's self-care, and I think that's something I really needed to work on, and I always have known it was important, but I never actually took steps to act upon it, so this has really helped me to do that, if that makes sense. So, I'm always constantly going through my head, is baby Avery okay? What does she need? Does she feel loved? Does she feel protected? Does she feel safe? And the answer is no. I'd try to figure out what was going on, that I didn't feel safe or I didn't feel loved or I didn't feel good in that moment. And I think that's really helped me and really changed my mindset as well.
To me, it sounds like a different way of looking at taking care of yourself. It almost seems as if you've kind of got this new perspective that you're taking care of somebody else, but that somebody else is also yourself.
Exactly.
Better at taking care of themselves when they could, like, they're like, oh, I'm much better at taking care of other people.
Right.
That way, if you look at it that way, you're kind of are taking care of somebody else, but it's also benefiting yourself.
I know, and it's crazy that it took that session to realize that and actually focus on that, but I'm also at the same time glad it did.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I want to know, like, who do you think could benefit from doing a session of Reiki or kind of going through a few sessions? Who do you think that, could kind of have a similar experience to you? I don't know, who do you think would benefit from it?
I feel like people that just feel really stagnant in their life and want some sort of change or some sort of eye-opening experience because this was definitely it. But I do have to say you have to be so open-minded when you're going through it. I apologize for scaring anyone because I know this was, like, really deep and aggressive, and I just wanted to tell you all everything that I experienced and, because I went into it not knowing anything, so I'm really glad I went in open-minded. I wanted to tell you these things not to scare you, but just so you are aware of what could happen, but again, to each their own. You might not feel all the things I felt. You might have a completely actually, I know you will have a completely different situation and experience with it if you were to do it. Um, I mean, I called my best friend, I told all my friends in Denver about it and recommended her to all of them, and they seemed like they wanted to try it. My mom was like, "Oh my god, next time in Colorado, I need to go to her." So, I feel like it just depends if you're into that kind of stuff and you like experience new things and really exploring your own self, this would be for you.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we'll put like a disclaimer at the beginning of this, like if you want to try Reiki, listen to only the first half.
Yeah, true.
But I think it sounds like you went through something, afterwards that wasn't pleasant, but it also sounds like you needed to go through it to really get the benefits.
Exactly. And I was at a point where I was willing to do whatever it took to feel good again and feel complete and feel, start on my healing journey once again because I just felt stagnant and stuck. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that.
No, I think this is a really important episode and something that's really interesting that can kind of connect with a lot of people just because, the popularity of alternative medicine is becoming huge now. And I think people are all looking for, or a lot of people at least, are looking for new ways to kind of look for solutions to what they're going through. And this is something that, I've never heard of before, but I do kind of now see some of the benefits that it could have for people that may relate to, some of the same things that you were looking for when you found it. So I do think that it has changed my mind a little bit. I'm usually somebody who has I have a much like straightforward answer to solutions I'm looking for. I think that's just kind of the way that I'm built. And, I try to keep an open mind to things like this. So it is just something that I've enjoyed learning about and something that I've enjoyed watching you go through almost.
Yeah, and it's a very personal experience. So if you're ready for that and wanting that, definitely do it. And I'm also not saying, therapy's wrong or medication's wrong. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying for me, I wanted an alternative medicine, and this is something I happen to stumble upon, and it was a great experience, and I would do it 100 times over. Another thing I do wanna mention is Reiki isn't something you do, like, every single day or every single month. She kind of explained it to me as an oil change, so, your car beeps or alerts you when it's ready for an oil change. It's kind of you're listening to your body or yourself, "I'm ready for a cleanup. I'm ready for another session." So it's not something you go to. I mean, you can, but she did explain it like an oil change, if that's helpful as well.
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask you like how often are you supposed to go, or are you just supposed to do it once and that's like the end game? I'm not sure. So that does make a lot of sense. It kind of is like once, things start the waters start to get muddy again and you need to get cleaned out again. That does seem like a very good way to go about it. Are you looking to do a session in the future soon, or are you kind of just taking it day by day and just waiting for that feeling to come?
Yeah, I feel like I've been wanting to talk about this, especially since we have the podcast. I just wanted to wait and not talk about it right after it happened because I haven't felt all the full effects of it yet. So I'm glad I waited, a month's time or if not more, because I can finally say I feel really good and I do believe it worked for me. And to answer your question, I would 100% go back and do it again. I would stick to the girl I went to just because 'cause I've already met with her and she kind of has already seen all my stuff. So, yeah, I would go back. I don't know when. I think it'd be a time where, you know, my body tells me, "All right, it's time for cleanup again."
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I do think it's going to help a lot of people that are interested in it. I think it's going to provide a good amount of information and a very surface level introduction to, an alternative way of healing. So I do
Mhm.
think people are going to enjoy this episode a lot, and I appreciate you being open about your experience.
Thank you. Thanks for interviewing me. And I do wanna have my cousin on who could speak to all this way better than I can, I would say. She actually is learning how to do all this stuff. So if you enjoyed this episode, please keep an eye out for an interview with her. I think it'll be super great and very educational.
Yeah, no, I think she'll definitely provide a really unique perspective on this as well. So hopefully people really enjoy this episode, and we'll dive even more into it at some point.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, and I appreciate you guys listening. Happy Tuesday, and we will see you next week. Thanks for coming on, Avery.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Happy Tuesday.